50%, inshallah. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Inshallah, in another minute, our Khatib will be arrived due to the detour road for the accident. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Brothers and sisters, throughout our lives there are times when we are presented with many challenges. Some of these challenges are external to us, meaning that a situation occurred to us, whether it be something within our family, whether it be something in our jobs, something at school. And sometimes there are challenges that erupt internally as well, meaning our nafs, our souls, our desires, or the shayateen in us lead us to self-inflict harm upon ourselves. Similar to how one may be addicted to certain substances and abuse themselves, we as Muslims have the concept of ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ, that people who do injustice to themselves. And after some time of doing this, where this becomes a habit or the challenge becomes persistent, it is very easy to feel a state of despair. And it is often in those circumstances that people are looking for a way out, but they don't seem to find a way out. And that is when they may go to an imam, a sheikh, and say that what is one dua that I can say that can take me out of this bad habit, this addiction, this problem that I've gotten myself into, this predicament, whether self-inflicted or not. How can I extract myself from this? How can I be in a better situation? Give me the magic dua. Give me the wird, the daily ritual of what I should recite so that I can be completely removed from this. Brothers and sisters, our religion is a simple one. It is not one that is filled with secrets that are reserved only for a select few, but rather our religion is one that is open for all. And the answer for this is bewilderingly simple, surprisingly simple. But as you and I can attest to in our experience, it can be difficult to implement and practice. There was once a man who came to the masjid, and he was known to be a thief. He was known to steal a lot. And he would pray, in fact, in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, with the Prophet ﷺ leading the salah. Imagine you're attending a khutbah and it is the Holy Prophet, the best man to ever live, and he was leading your salah. How would you feel afterwards? What would you do afterwards? We would all feel like changed people. And this person had multiple opportunities and in fact took advantage of many of these opportunities. But in his case, during that moment, his desires took the better hold of him. And immediately following the salawat, he would begin stealing. He just couldn't help it. Whether small or big, he would always be stealing. And the companion said about him that literally the only thing that would be stopping him from stealing was when it came time to pray. Otherwise, 24/7, just always on the job. Another companion, very similarly, may Allah be pleased with them, came to the masjid, and he was a young man, and the companions in his case didn't mention a specific sin. They said if there was a sin to be noted, he had done it. If it was mentioned in the books, he already had an entry associated with that. And these cases were presented to the Prophet ﷺ, talking about these individuals in the community that were committing these injustices to themselves. And the Prophet ﷺ gave an answer that should give all of us hope. And he said that perhaps their salah, their prayer, will help them to eventually stop doing these sins. Subhanallah. And Anas bin Malik, radiallahu anh, one of the reputable companions, he said that was in fact the case. That the salah, the prayer, the act that all of us are engaged in right now was something that helped them to break free from those shackles of oppression that they had done to themselves or done to them. Brothers and sisters, the salah is something that we learn from a very young age. Many of us from the age of 3, 4, 5, Sunday school, Islamic school, from our parents, we've been hearing about the concept of prayer. Someone who just embraces Islam, they're given the pamphlets or they're given a buddy to learn Islam from, one of the first things they learn is the salah. And so it's not something that's alien to us. But what might be alien, what might be strange for us, what we might find wondrous, is how was it that we're doing that act for so long, And yet we're still committing the same sins. And we're still not getting better. The Quran mentions, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ. The salah is something that keeps away that sin and wrongdoing. And so if that is the case, then why is it that we're falling into it so regularly? And there are even some hadith, very weak in fact, but they indicate that if someone was to continue praying, but they kept their sins up, that instead of growing closer to Allah, salah is supposed to be qurb, it's supposed to be a way of drawing closer to Allah. But if they commit those sins and they continue and persist in it, then the salah could in fact be a way of them distancing themselves. It's like a patient who is very sick, and every day they go to the pharmacy, every day they go to the hospital, and they stand in the lobby, they wait till closing, and then they head home. They were right there. They could have gotten the treatment they needed, but they chose not to be mindful and do something about what they're doing. And that is the key, brothers and sisters, that we all have the solution in front of us, but we have to allow the salah to permeate our hearts. فَإِنَّهَا مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Of the taqwa, of the God consciousness of the heart, is to delve deep into the salah and to make the salah central to our lives, not just something that we do by chance. If you are not Muslim, the concept of salah, of praying 5 times a day, minimum, not to mention the sunnah, not to mention the extra prayers we do at different times of the year, including in Ramadan. If you are not Muslim, and the average Muslim did the bare minimum of getting up when it is time for prayer and praying their salah, nothing special within Islam, just what is expected of you, they would consider you a monk, a saint. That look at this person, they always drop everything and they pray. But in Islam, Allah SWT tells us this is a function that you and I need. Allah doesn't need it, you and I need it. And whenever that salah is not strong and we just turn it into something that we go up and down in, that's when we start seeing more issues arise in our lives. Because the way that you approach the salah is the way you will approach all of life. And the way that you act in salah is that the way that life will act upon you. If the salah is something that you just rush through and you pray it when there's only 1 or 2 minutes left and you're barely getting your salah in and you're rushing to somehow just make wudu however, and as soon as the prayer is over, in that 1 minute salah, you're immediately stood up and just raced over into doing the next busy, important thing, then believe it or not, your whole life will be that way too. You'll find yourself rushing from thing to thing, thinking you're moving on to something more productive. But in fact, you're just being busy. You're not actually doing anything of value. If you don't take the time to contemplate in the salah what you are saying, if you for over a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, you're saying Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil Azim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and you still don't know what you're saying, and you still don't think about what you're saying, then life will treat you the same way. You'll have degrees and jobs and promotions and spouse and children, but the same way they'll just pass through you. And you won't enjoy or savor them because the thing that was given to you by Allah wasn't enjoyed. It's a simple formula, but it's one that all of us can take advantage of. Brothers and sisters, what's amazing about the salah, is particularly the ones that you pray in jama'ah, in congregation, is that it takes the same amount of time if you are someone very devoted or you're someone who is not devoted at all. The imam that is leading, at least we have the decency to keep with him. We don't finish the salah before him. And so if the imam is taking 10 minutes, the person who is thinking about filing their taxes, thinking about what they're going to have for dinner, thinking about what they're going to do over the weekend, is spending as much time as a person who's thinking about the salah, thinking about the relationship to Allah. They might not know Arabic, they might not know the intricacies, but they realize that they are a slave in front of their master, and that they are being totally submissive and humble to Allah. And as the Prophet ﷺ says, that there will be some people that they will pray the whole salah, but they will only get a small portion of it, a fraction of the reward. And someone else will spend the same time, and they will look even the same. Both of them eyes closed, focused. But one, their mind is in the hereafter, and the other person is still submerged in the dunya. They weren't able to separate out the dunya from the akhirah. They weren't able to say, I need this time to refresh. And subhanAllah, brothers and sisters, we don't need this as proof, but we hear this as well, even in the business world, even in science of productivity, that the people that are most productive are those that take regular breaks. There are people that fully disconnect when they go for vacation. They don't always have their phone on them, their laptops on them. We know this. But 1400 years ago, without mentioning anything about productivity,